What if the person you trust the most turns out to be the most evil? A chilling thought, isn't it? Now let me introduce you to Mariam Sulakiotis, a woman who embodied this question in the most horrifying way possible. Born into a devoutly religious family, Mariam was instilled with faith from a young age. Her parents, firm believers in the teachings of the church, passed these values onto their daughter. Growing up, Mariam was known to be a quiet, respectful girl who showed a genuine interest in the teachings of the church. From an early age, she expressed her desire to dedicate her life to serving the faith, a calling that would lead her to become a nun. As Mariam grew older, her dedication to her faith never wavered. She was always seen at the front of the church, hands clasped in prayer, eyes closed in devout contemplation. Her commitment was undeniable, and it wasn't long before she rose to the position of abbess. This was a respected role within the church, the highest rank a nun could achieve, and Mariam seemed to embody everything it stood for. She was a beacon of faith, a symbol of piety, a woman who had dedicated her life to the service of others. But here's where things take a dark turn. You see, Mariam was not the saintly figure she appeared to be. On the outside, she was the epitome of innocence, a woman of God devoted to her faith. But behind this mask of piety was something far more sinister, a darkness that would shock the world. The people around her saw a woman of faith, a trusted figure who guided them on their spiritual journey. They saw a woman who had given up worldly pleasures to serve a higher purpose, but this was all a clever ruse, a deceptive facade that hid her true intentions. But beneath this facade of piety and devotion, there was a dark side to Mariam that no one could have possibly imagined. Who would suspect a nun of foul play? This question became a chilling reality as Mariam Sulakiotis began to exploit her position for personal gain. Behind her facade of divine service and altruism, a shroud of darkness was beginning to unfold. Mariam, the trusted and respected abbess, was not the woman everyone believed her to be. She had cleverly woven a web of deceit, using her status to manipulate those around her. What appeared as acts of kindness and charity were in fact calculated maneuvers to further her ambitions. The first signs of her sinister intentions surfaced subtly. There were whispers within the church about irregularities, unexplained wealth, sudden donations, and extravagant gifts, all seemingly out of place for a woman who had devoted her life to poverty and service. Yet these were brushed aside as mere rumors, dismissed as unfounded suspicions. After all, who could believe that a woman of the cloth could be capable of such deceit? Her reputation, one meticulously built over years, became her greatest ally. She was, in the eyes of the congregation and the community, beyond reproach. The trust she had built was so strong that it shielded her from any suspicion. She was viewed as a beacon of faith, a pillar of the church. But then there were those who dared to question. A few brave souls began to dig deeper, to look beyond the surface. They noticed the inconsistencies, the inexplicable changes in her lifestyle, the lavishness that seemed out of sync with her vows of simplicity and humility. They started to connect the dots, slowly uncovering the truth about Mariam. However, the trust that Mariam had so skillfully nurtured acted as a fortress, protecting her from prying eyes. She continued her charade, confident in the belief that her secret was safe. But as we all know, the truth has a way of revealing itself, and in Mariam's case it was only a matter of time. The trust she had built was so strong it shielded her from any suspicion, but not for long. How long can a wolf hide in sheep's clothing? That is the question that ultimately led to the unraveling of Mariam Sulakiotis, the woman who would go down in history as the nun serial killer. The first solid evidence against Mariam came to light in the form of an anonymous tip. A letter scrawled in shaky handwriting pointed the finger directly at the seemingly pious abbess. It was a cry for help, a desperate plea that could not be ignored. The authorities had to act, and they did. Following the tip, a series of investigations began. It was like peeling back layers of a grotesque onion, each layer revealing something more sinister than the last. The police found traces of foul play in Mariam's financial records, a trail of breadcrumbs leading to a horrifying truth. There were unexplained wealth, suspicious transactions, and assets that far exceeded the humble lifestyle of a nun. As the investigations intensified, more shocking revelations started to unfold. Witnesses began to come forward, each with their own chilling tale of Mariam's malevolence. There were stories of coercion, manipulation, and even physical violence. The once revered abbess was now being painted as a manipulator, a puppet master pulling the strings behind a cruel and calculated facade. The most damning evidence, however, came in the form of human remains. Buried within the confines of the monastery, authorities discovered a series of shallow graves. Each one held a victim, their life cruelly snuffed out by the woman they had trusted, the woman they had looked up to as a symbol of faith and virtue. As the evidence piled up, the unimaginable truth was becoming clear. The wolf had been hiding in sheep's clothing for far too long. The devout abbess, the respected pillar of her community, was not the saint she appeared to be. She was a predator, a ruthless killer hiding behind a veil of piety and virtue. As the evidence piled up, the unimaginable truth was becoming clear. The devout abbess was a ruthless killer. When the mask falls, the true face of evil is revealed. And the mask of Mariam Sulakiotis, the angelic abbess, fell with a thunderous crash, revealing a face that bore the weight of countless crimes. Mariam's arrest was as dramatic as her life had been. The police, having gathered irrefutable evidence against her, stormed the unsuspecting convent. The once revered nun was led away in handcuffs, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. The trial that followed was a media circus. Reporters from all over the globe descended upon the small town, their pens hungry for every sordid detail. The courtroom was packed to the brim, the air thick with anticipation. As the charges were read out, gasps echoed through the room. Murder, embezzlement, blackmail. The list was long and damning. The reactions of those who knew Mariam were a mixture of shock, horror, and disbelief. Many struggled to reconcile the image of the pious, caring abbess with the cold-blooded killer being painted in the courtroom. Some wept openly, their faith shattered, while others sat in stunned silence. The media, however, reveled in the scandal. Headlines screamed about the serial killer nun, the most evil woman in the history of mankind. Every twist and turn of the trial was dissected and discussed, adding fuel to the growing frenzy. The impact on the church was significant. The institution that had once been a haven for the faithful was now under scrutiny. Questions were raised about the oversight of religious institutions, leading to reforms and stricter regulations. As the gavel fell, marking the end of the trial, a wave of relief washed over the town. The nightmare was finally over. Mariam Sulakiotis, once a revered figure, was now a symbol of deceit and evil. The fall of Mariam Sulakiotis was a shock to all, a grim reminder that evil can hide in the most unexpected places. The angel had fallen, and in her wake left a legacy of deceit and horror. What remains when the dust of scandal settles? In the aftermath of Mariam Sulakiotis's shocking revelations, the world was left grappling with the chilling reality of a nun-turned-serial killer. The very foundations of faith and trust were shattered, casting a long, unsettling shadow over an institution that had stood unflinchingly for centuries. The repercussions were far-reaching, prompting the Church to introspect and implement stringent changes. A rigorous screening process was introduced for those entering holy orders, with an emphasis on psychological evaluations. The Church, in its desperate bid to regain the lost trust, also became more transparent, opening its doors to independent audits and investigations. But amidst the sweeping reforms, the horror of Mariam's crimes lingered, a grim reminder of the monstrous depths deceit can sink to. Her tale serves as a chilling cautionary tale, warning us of the danger hidden behind the most innocent of facades. The story of Mariam Sulakiotis is not merely about a woman who committed heinous crimes under the guise of faith. It is a stark reminder of the human capacity for evil, of the ease with which trust can be manipulated, and of the devastating consequences when those in positions of power exploit their authority. Her legacy is a dark stain on the annals of religious history, a stain that no amount of reform can fully erase. It is a story that has left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, forcing society to question and challenge the very nature of faith and trust. So, as we tread the murky waters of trust and deceit, let us not forget the tale of Mariam Sulakiotis. Let it serve as a stark reminder of the need for vigilance, for even in the most sacred of places, evil can find a home. Mariam Sulakiotis, the nun serial killer, left behind a legacy of deceit, a shattered faith, and a tale that continues to haunt to this day.